This Genesis review was brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Try it, and the next time TNA advertise a new era, new direction, and new characters in the spotlight, they won't do it on a show with Sting in the main event. When I think of the word Genesis, I think of a new beginning, a fresh start. That's what TNA were pushing here. They were even advertising it during the show with that little video package they threw in there. Is that what they delivered? Not really. I was hoping for new storylines, a new creative direction, new stars in the spotlight. And instead, I see the show start the same way every show lately has started. I see Madison Rayne winning the Knockouts title. I see this Bully Ray, Ken Anderson stuff still going on. I see Sting in the main event getting pushed as the top face again. And right there, you've already lost me. More than anything else, I saw continuation. TNA just continuing what they've been doing. And they might put a different coat of paint on it, but to a certain extent, it's still business as usual. But I have generally liked what they've been doing lately, so that doesn't have to be a bad thing. I just like to see them get to wherever they want to go more quickly. Enough with the continuation and put your foot on the gas. Follow through on what you advertise. If you're advertising a Genesis, then let's really see a Genesis here. And this goes beyond hyping a huge cage match for this show and then putting it off until next week just because. Well, goddamn, this opening segment sure went on forever, didn't it? Holy shit. I'm trying really hard to not view that as a negative. As I recall, the last time they did one of these super long openers, it was the Impact after Bound for Glory 2011. It was a segment that went for like 45 minutes, and that show ended up doing like a 1.4, 1.5 or something. So I kept an open mind about this. I figured as long as I was still entertained, it was all right. And I think it almost worked. They covered a lot of ground. They established the new status quo with all the guys and gals that are riding the Dixie train. They set up a couple matches, and then they had a big match. And a lot of that was important stuff. Yeah, they could have and really should have done this in less time, but I wasn't bored by it. I was enjoying the spectacle of the whole thing and how much heel heat dudes like Rockstar Spud and Magnus and EC3 were getting. And all the promos here were really quite good. Dixie was a little off at times, but for the most part, everyone was strong on the mic. The big 6-man tag after all the talking was a bit too chaotic for me, and you could tell this was where they were starting to lose the crowd somewhat. But I was encouraged by Samoa Joe getting the win for his team. If you're setting up guys to fill the hole left by AJ Styles and Jeff Hardy for a while, and Kurt Angle while he's getting his knee surgery, and maybe Sting after next week, Samoa Joe is one of those guys. And I would love to see a world title feud between Joe and Magnus. I think it's the perfect time for that. And if that's where they're going with this, then hell fucking yeah. Yes! Okay, looks like we're finally getting to the point with this Velvet Sky situation. And I will say that while the verbiage in this segment was a little less than ideal, though Sabin quoting Mr. Belding was funny, they're finally showing some genuine progression with the Velvet Sky character, which is what the whole problem with this angle was. She's finally acting like Sabin's behavior is affecting her and just registering in her brain. Until now, she wasn't. And that's why the whole thing felt so awkward. When the character the storyline hinges on comes off more like a prop than a person, that's not good. But they're starting to rectify that. I'm looking forward to Sabin Aries next week. Hopefully this time we'll get a match like the one they delivered last summer. And I suspect this will be the point where Velvet either finally splits from Sabin or finally turns heel. Personally, I'm hoping for the heel turn. Velvet's character has always been much better as a heel in my opinion, but either way, I definitely think it's time to change the dynamic here. This Bully Ray Ken Anderson no DQ match, I had a lot of mixed feelings about this. The match itself was pretty damn good. Some sick bumps here. Anderson did a senton off the turnbuckle and landed on the steel guardrail, for God's sake. Thumbs way up on the match. Although, FYI, unless you're going to actually set something on fire at some point, TNA, then I wish you'd stop teasing the lighter fluid. If you do plan on doing that, fine. If not, stop it. The audience needs to know that you intend to follow through on stuff like this from now on. Great match, though. But the thing of it is, this feud just isn't doing it for me. It's nothing to do with them necessarily, but it's all about the fallout of the Aces and Eights debacle. And when Taz mentioned that during the match, I just wanted to walk away from the TV. TNA, the faction sucked. It was a complete waste of a year and a half of all our lives. You know it. We know it. Everybody knows it. Anything and everything concerning the Aces and Eights, I just want to go away. Do like Schleg Daddy said, just pretend it never existed. Wipe it from memory, forever and ever. But when you do a feud that's all about how Bully Ray is pissed at Anderson for ending the Aces and Eights, then you're just trying my patience. Bully Ray should be as happy as anyone that those schmucks aren't weighing him down anymore. Seriously. Terrific match. I just cannot get into this storyline. I can't do it.
Oh, you were not aware of this?
So last week, Kurt Angle was duped into leaving the show before the main event happened, and this week he's mighty pissed off about that. I'll certainly take this over a guy getting abducted by a fucking cult and then showing up the next week acting like nothing happened. But am I the only one who found this a little unintentionally funny? No offense, Kurt, but you were so freaking gullible to fall for Al Snow's Dog and Pony show last week. I think this is mostly on you. You know, the promos were solid in this segment, even though they were going around in circles after a while. But this is where I started feeling Dixie Carter overload. It was getting to be too much at this point. I think if Rude just came out instead, that would have been better. I know Dixie Carter's getting a lot of heat, but we don't need to see her in every segment, guys. Really. That's not necessary. But more than that, what really irritated me about this was them postponing the Rude Angle cage match until next week, when they'd already done so much to hype it up for this week. That's a bait and switch. People don't appreciate that stuff. If you didn't intend to have the match this week, you shouldn't have said it was going to be this week. Alright, just my opinion here, but I think if you advertise a certain thing on a certain date, you need to deliver that thing on that date. Because the last thing you want is for the fans to start feeling like they're getting jerked around. Just saying.
And that's the fishing line, 'cause Shark Boy said so.
Come on. Come on, damn you! This isn't working. So, Madison Rayne won the Knockouts title in very underwhelming fashion, and I did not give a rat's ass. Just play the clip. Why on earth didn't the referee call for a DQ when he saw Lady Tapa choking Madison out? I'm just asking. Don't worry, I'm not going to launch into another Madison Rayne diatribe. You've heard that all before. But I have to ask, where do you go from here creatively? Once this Gail Madison thing wraps up, who the hell do you feud her with? I think most of us are in agreement that it's way too soon for Lady Tapa to be in the title picture. So once you eliminate her and Gail, Madison is already out of fresh opponents. So what are you going to do with her? Are you going to feud her with Tessmacher? Again? Feud her with ODB? Again? Feud her with Velvet Sky? Again? Like we haven't seen all that 100,000 fucking times? I'm getting bored just thinking about it. Ha-ha! You know what would be really fucking awesome? If someone like Shauna or Nikki Storm just jumped out of the crowd when they're in Scotland in a few weeks and completely tore Madison a new asshole. That would be so sweet. And I saw that interview at Ring Bells Online. I know Shauna said there's a possibility that she could be on the UK tour. I have no idea what you're waiting for, TNA. I really don't.
You have no idea what the right decision would be.
I was actually really impressed with the buzz that TNA were able to generate, at least in this community, about the American Wolves debuting this week. And I wasn't asking for much out of this debut, I really wasn't. I was just hoping that it would be exciting. You know, just strike while the iron is hot. Didn't have to be some huge deal with the whole show built around it or anything like that. Just something to signify that these guys mean big things for the tag team division, and that could have been very easily done, I think. But instead, this was so low-key. They have this little pre-tape with Dixie that goes for like a minute, where they're just used to facilitate the introduction of what looks like yet another power struggle storyline, and that's it? Really? That was the hottest introduction for these guys that you could think of? Really?
Really?
Sure, I was happy to see them. And yes, them poking fun at the whole NXT tryout situation was funny, even though I'm sure 99% of the audience didn't get it. But this was so lame and underplayed. People were really hyped up about this. They wanted to see these guys start off with a bang. Wouldn't them jumping the rails and attacking Bad Influence or something have been more exciting than this? Come on! And then you've got this stupid thing how they got signed by some mysterious new investor that somehow Dixie, the president of the company, mind you, didn't even know about? What?
This is unbelievable. This doesn't make any sense.
Well, cue the speculation that the investor is Jeff Jarrett, even though he's already a minority owner in the company and it would make no damn sense whatsoever. I guess that doesn't mean they wouldn't do it. Which brings me to the main event of the evening. After quite a lot of build-up, we finally got Sting versus Ethan Carter III. The match was way too short, it sucked, it wasn't even about EC3 despite it being the biggest win of his career by a mile. He disappeared the second it was over, and he came out of it looking worse even though he won the match. Anyone who thought it was a good idea to book this match that way, I seriously question your mental health.
You people are fools!
Now, having said that, I think we all need to get some perspective here because I've seen some people completely dismissing this right off the bat just because the match was no good. Newsflash, guys. We knew going in that this match was gonna suck, okay? We knew what we were getting. We knew not to expect anything. If the match quality is what you're focusing on, then I don't think you're really seeing clearly. I mean, sure, I could tear them apart for booking EC3 to be incredibly weak, him looking like a total scrub and Sting looking like Super Cena, because it was stupid. I hated it. I hate that Sting is still getting booked like this against young talent in the main events in 2013, just like most of you do, I'm sure. But guess what? No one, I repeat, no one ever looks strong against Sting in this company, and we all know it. Magnus at Bound for Glory was an anomaly. AJ Styles at Bound for Glory 2009 was an anomaly. Yes, it's stupid. Yes, it's absolutely moronic that EC3 couldn't be more competitive here. If he'd gone toe-to-toe with Sting and put up a great fight, only to need Magnus's help just a little bit just for a second at the very end, then it would have gotten you to the same place and the young guy would have looked a lot better. But to be honest, this is par for the course with TNA and Sting, and I'm really, really tired of being pissed off about it all the time. This is a case where we kind of have to pick our battles because, like it or not, TNA thinks Sting is God's gift to everything, and they put him on a pedestal above everyone else, and it's just something you have to put up with because it's never going to change. And personally, the booking or how good or bad the match was the furthest thing from my mind. I knew what I was in for as far as all that goes. All I cared about was the result. As I said last week, all I wanted from this was an EC3 victory, and I honestly did not give two shits how it happened as long as it happened. Because I knew that any kind of victory, even one that makes him look like a total chump, was best case scenario when he's in there with Sting. And at the very least, we got that much. And yeah, he needed all this crooked referee bullshit to do it, but by hook or by crook, EC3 won the match. EC3 beat Sting. And that was the best we could possibly hope for in this situation. It's incredibly fucked up, but it is what it is. This post-match angle was kind of infuriating, to be honest. Sting goes off on Magnus, saying how he's a disgrace to the world title and he's a boy, not a man, because a man would put the world title on the line against him, and he'll do anything just for one shot at Magnus's championship.
No! No! No!
Stop. Just stop. Okay? I'm putting the brakes on this right now. For all Sting's talk about what it means to be a real man, he is talking out of his ass, okay? See, what he just said about being a man might have a ring of truth to it. It might. But you know what? Being a man also means that you take your medicine, even when you don't like it, even when you don't want to. Being a man also means that you honor your word and honor your contractual obligations. And it seems to me that Sting is now looking at his second, not first, but second chance at the world title when he lost a match where the stipulation was if you lose, you are banned from the world title picture for life, less than a year ago. He shits on Magnus because he finally caught a break, but Sting has been getting all kinds of breaks and shortcuts in this company for years. So you know what? I don't want to see Sting criticize Magnus because he doesn't have a leg to stand on anymore. He might be a man in his definition, but he's also a giant freaking hypocrite.
You're nothing but a selfish prick!
Thank God Magnus didn't fall for this and made Sting put something on the line too. They're using the lifetime ban as part of the angle, so they're not just forgetting about it, but the whole concept of this just annoys the piss out of me. You put a lifetime world title ban on Sting, it barely lasted 6 months, and now you're putting him in there again? If you can do that to a stipulation that's supposed to last forever, then what you're saying is that no stipulation really means anything anymore. No stipulation has any real consequence whatsoever because they can just circumvent them whenever they want to, just for shits and giggles. So there's no real reason to care. At all. What are you doing?
I will not participate in this charade this evening.
Credit where credit's due. The promos here were really good. Magnus came off like a savvy champion who didn't play right into Sting's hands, and he did everything he could to sell the match, and I thought he did a fine job of making that match seem like a big deal. Am I excited for it? No. They had a lousy match at Bound for Glory. They're going to have a lousy match next week because Sting has got nothing left in the tank. And if Magnus wins, I know he's probably going to look weak as hell, and Sting is probably going to fight off like 20 people and no-sell everything Magnus does, and it's going to be complete bullshit, but that's just the way it is, because TNA just cannot see clearly when it comes to Sting. I'm watching for the finish. As long as Magnus goes over, I can live with this for one more week. You really have to wonder where TNA's head is at right now. They're putting all this effort into making AJ Styles and Sting look awesome at the expense of the current roster when they're either leaving the company or possibly leaving the company. And I don't understand it for the life of me. They seem to be trying in their own way to move in this new direction, but they can't seem to get out of their own way, and as a result, the wheels just move so damn slowly. I didn't hate this show. I thought it was alright as a story-driven episode, even though that's not what was promised for a pay-per-view themed Impact. But for all TNA's posturing, for all their talk about new beginnings and new directions and new eras, instead of the beginning of something fresh and new, Genesis mostly just felt like another work in progress. See you next time.